Hi guys, what should Starmer do? That was the question that James O'Brien posed following a speech that the Prime Minister gave this week on the UK's dilemma. Should Britain try to build a positive relationship with Donald Trump's administration with the belief that doing so would shield the UK from the wrecking ball of tariffs the President-elect has promised to impose? Or should Starmer try to undo some of the damage that the Tories did to the relationship with the EU through Boris Johnson, Liz Truss and Brexit? Have a listen.
The first question is, how should Keir Starmer deal with Donald Trump? Because we couldn't really be in a worse position, could we, as a country? You've got a psychotic White House about to be activated, and we have left the European Union, and we sit between the two. So what can Starmer do? It's an extraordinary, and I use that word advisedly, position in which to find himself. Cut loose from Europe and looking across the Atlantic at a potentially hostile regime. One glimmer of hope is that I think Trump can be treated like a toddler. I think even if he was screaming at you yesterday and smearing the walls with his food, I think if you give him a biscuit today, he can be sort of mollified. I don't know that you see this with his relations with his own party. People that spoke out against him, as long as they bend the knee, can be welcomed back into the fold and even promoted. So I don't know that anything lasts for very long in Trump world. I think even his vendettas expire. So maybe Starmer can, in some sense, build an entente over the Atlantic. But goodness me, the choice between Europe and America seemed to me, before this speech, to be at the very top of Keir Starmer's to-do list. And yet he insists that the choice does not have to be made at all.
So a lot of things are going to happen behind the scenes that we're not going to be privy to. Now, what's interesting in regards to tariffs is that Donald Trump was suggesting that he was going to impose massive tariffs on both Mexico and Canada, the US's biggest trading partners. Now, it seems since then, the president of Mexico and the Canadian Prime Minister both traveled to Mar-a-Lago and met with Donald Trump. And it seems since those meetings, Donald Trump has toned down his rhetoric regarding tariffs on both Canada and Mexico. Now, we don't know what was said, but it's possible that, as James O'Brien has said here, that they treated him like a baby. They said, we'll give you a biscuit. So we don't know exactly what was said at those meetings, but it seems meeting with Donald Trump and maybe pandering to him or either standing up to him may change his rhetoric. Now, we'll have to wait and see when he gets into power whether he's actually going to do a U-turn and impose massive tariffs on both of those countries. So for Keir Starmer, he could maybe take a leaf out of Canada's book or Mexico's book, go there, meet with Donald Trump, and try and offer him something. Explain to him, it would actually benefit the US not to impose these tariffs because of whatever reasons. So there's a responsibility for Keir Starmer to do that. Now, when it comes to a relationship picking the US or the US or the EU, the UK has to go down the road of closer alignment with the European Union. Because the biggest market for the UK is the EU, the single market. There's a massive amount of trade with the US, but there's much more trade with the single market. So as we've seen, if the UK moves away from EU standards, this is going to increase the cost, increase the bureaucracy, and create political problems for the UK when it's dealing with Europe. So it makes more sense, of course, to go down the road of closer alignment with the European Union, but also keeping Donald Trump happy. I think one is easier than the other. The EU is quite clear. These are the standards you have to follow. These are the things you need to do. It's all quite transparent. It's up there for everyone to see. But Donald Trump is a loose cannon. Donald Trump is your friend one day, your enemy the next, and then your friend the day after that. So you have to be able to treat him with kid gloves, or you have to be tough with him, depending on the day or depending on his mood. So I think what Starmer needs to do is treat the EU and the US completely differently, knowing that, look, Donald Trump will not be there forever, but our relationship with the European Union is going to be long-term. So while it's important to have in the medium and short term a good relationship or some sort of respectful relationship with the US, the long-term view has to be closer alignment with the European Union. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.